We wanted to have Keegan on today so that, and I'll turn off the slides in just a moment so you can see him full screen, from his Campellino olive oil farm, and which he's the proprietor along with his wife Francesca. So Keegan, good to have you with us
right
today.
Here. Francesca, step in.
Francesca,
yeah.
Wonderful to have you.
Ciao, ciao.
You know,
ciao.
Hi, Francesca. Ciao.
Ciao.
Got them both.
So Keegan, if you'd take a moment and tell us about the farm that you now have, and you harvested last year from a different grove of olive trees, but now you have your own farm, and tell us about the oil from this year. I have a bottle of it here, and we'll talk about how it tastes in just a second. But want to give people an idea of what you're doing with your farm now.
Okay, thanks, Rick. Yeah, so with Francesca, we just decided now in about a year ago to start our own olive oil project. I've been very interested in, let's say, olive tree farming in general for some years now. And well, I grew up on a more or less working farm. My parents still have, they harvest generally every year. They didn't have any olives this year, so unfortunately they don't have their own olive oil. But when I moved to Orvieto and with Francesca, we decided to renovate this place in the countryside with a small olive grove. There I really became interested. We basically, the property, half of the property was owned by Francesca's mother, and we bought the other half from a cousin of Francesca's mother. And on the property, we have this small grove of olive trees, very old olive trees that were basically, they were abandoned. So I just got interested, and I started learning about pruning and how to farm olive trees. This was about 6 years ago. Around the same time, I became very good friends with Gigi, and he manages about over 1,000 olive trees. Mm-hmm. And so on my free time, I would help them out with the pruning and the harvesting, and got a bit more and more interested. There's Gigi and Leonardo. Gigi is the one in the background, Leonardo on the right. This was last year harvesting. So then this year with Francesca, we decided to start our own project. And our main focus is, to produce genuine organic olive oil of exceptional quality. And also we're interested in managing groves that have been abandoned and basically restoring them. Unfortunately, here in Italy, they've calculated about 30% of the groves are been abandoned because, generally very labor intensive. They're old fashioned groves, hard to get into the groves with tractors and they're low density groves. So it's a lot of work. And unfortunately, the olive oil is not paid as much as it should be. So a lot of farmers have been abandoning their groves, or people that have inherited the groves from their grandparents or from their parents are not interested in spending money on the groves. So, if you go for a hike or walk around the Umbrian countryside, there's a lot of groves that are now basically more or less disappearing with, broom or other trees growing in the middle and vines growing over the trees. So I don't know, I said, it's a pity, and so with Francesca, we rented out one of these abandoned groves. Basically half of it was not visible anymore. So we've done a lot of work in the last months to clearing it out. And it's a grove with about 130 trees, very old trees, beautiful trees. And this year we got our first small production of olive oil, and we're very proud about it. So,
well, you you told me that it was very much a labor of love for you as well. This isn't a commercial enterprise, but that this is very hands-on for you. It's very labor intensive.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Well,
most of the work I've been doing on my own, and I have I need some help every once in a while for some of the work. The harvesting, I collaborate with my good friend Gigi. So, we do a couple of days harvesting in his groves, and then he helps out with my groves. So it worked out pretty nice. And generally, we're a group of about between 4 and 6 people every day doing the harvesting.
The harvesting.
And
I guess you can't hear, right? The harvest.
No,
excuse me.
We hear you, Ann.
Key.
Say it again, Ann.
Sorry, Mom.
The harvesting concluded in December, right? You're not still harvesting.
November. Harvesting is generally in the season, but it's October through, sometimes we go all the way into the beginning of December, depending on the season, depending on how many olives we have. This year, unfortunately, not many olives on the trees, so the harvesting was overall quite fast.
And this is from this year's harvest. And tell us about this label. There's a story behind your new label.
Tell them about the label. It's wonderful.
Yeah, see, Francesca's already, so the label was drawn by a good friend of ours, Camilla, and she was Francesca. She's a high school teacher, and Camilla was one of her students for 5 years in the Arts Lyceum here in Orvieto, and she's a young lady with Down syndrome, and Francesca was a special ed teacher, and she's very creative, very funny. And after she earned a diploma, she started working with this, it's basically a ceramics shop. So she became an artisan, and she decorates ceramics.
Those are all little olives, Rick, on there. Right, Keegan?
So,
all little olives.
So we asked her if she was willing to design a label for us. And so she came up with this explosion of olives. So yeah, hard to see, but I have a bottle right here as well.
Oh, Big Bang, because the olives explode. It's fabulous.
Yeah, so, Big Bang, because it's like Big Bang, like the origin of the Campellino universe, let's say. This is our first olive oil. So we came up with this name Big Bang because it's, the beginning of this.
Well, I love this. This new design is really exciting. It's so much olive oil as we get it in America. It's everything is like Chianti bottles hanging from the rafters kind of look and feel. So this is a very much of a contemporary design and a very much of a contemporary olive oil too. It's being made right now in your grove. And I wanted to comment that the taste, Kathleen also has her bottles there. Yeah. I found this taste in your tree incredible. It is got a much more vibrant finish and peppery taste. Last year's was good, but this was really distinctive. Can you explain what's distinctive about the olives in your region there? Now, someone asked, where are you? You live in Orvieto, right?
Orvieto, yes. Orvieto, that's in Umbria. So
right.
Western Umbria.
Yeah, Western Umbria, near the border with the region of Lazio. And Italy is overall very interesting from many points of view, including olive oil, because they've counted up to date about 700 different varieties of olives growing in Italy. Yeah. And this is related just to the Italian
varieties.
Going from the Alps, where they have a special climate, and you go all the way down to Sicily, where it's almost, a North African climate. So for millenniums, since olives were introduced to Italy, farmers have been breeding trees so they could grow well in their, in the territory where they're living. So And
Oh, there's a
olive
question.
oils from different regions of Italy are generally quite different. And in Umbria, let's say the most popular Umbrian variety is the Moraiolo olive tree.
Keegan, excuse me though while you're talking. Rick, if you look at the questions, Paula Duffy mentioned something about Frantoio. I don't know if she means the variety because Keegan's talking about varieties. Can you see that in the questions?
Oh, right. Yes, I think Keegan just discussed the harvest this last fall. That's this harvest that we're talking about now.
Paula Duffy just asked a question right here.
Yes, she said, I associate Frantoio with Umbria. What other types are used in this batch of oil?
Okay. Yeah, Keegan, what olives are in your...
Yeah, this is what, so in our olive oil this year, in our groves, we have mostly Frantoio, Moraiolo, and Lecchino. This year, the Moraiolo didn't have almost any olives, so there's not much Moraiolo in this year's. And we harvest all the olives. The groves generally have, all the trees are together in one grove. So when we harvest the different varieties generally all together. And this year's olive is more or less 50% Frantoio, 50% Lecchino. Plus, there are a few other minor varieties that are generally planted in groves because they're used to pollinate other trees. Because some olive trees are autofertile, mean they can pollinate themselves. Others are not, so they need a different type of olive for the pollination. So let's say the Umbrian groves are mostly Moraiolo, Frantoio, and Lecchino, but dispersed within these groves, then there's a whole bunch of other minor varieties that were planted because they're good pollinators. And they produce good olive oil as well. So, you pick those as well.
Keegan, I'd like to let some of the people know if they have any questions for you too. And in fact, Judith wrote that they received their 6 bottles and it's delicious, rich, earthy, and grassy. She loves it. These are in the comments section. So I wanted to know if anybody else has any questions for Keegan about the Naples talk, for Francesca, for Rick.
Just go ahead and speak up. You can unmute yourselves.
Feel free, anybody who has a question.
Well,
So-
it does look exactly like the picture where it's pouring out of the spigot because it's really fabulous olive oil. And I'm so happy we ordered it. We ordered last year also. This is just exceptional. So thank you, Keegan. And he was wonderful to deal with also.
Thank you. Is that Judith talking there?
Yes.
Thank you. Keegan, thank you.
Thank you.
So I put the address to order.
Yes.
Yeah, I put Keegan's address in the chat. So that's all you have to do is just tell him how many of the containers they're available. These are half liter containers for 15 euros. And then the shipping price is also shown on the slide. But if you just email Keegan and you tell him how many containers you want and what your state destination is, the price is the same, but he'll confirm for all U.S. shipping. And if you're watching from somewhere else, just email Keegan. It's KEEGAN_ED@yahoo.it.
Keegan,
And that'll get you in touch.
some of your olive oil. He's sitting right next to me.
Yeah, I'll take a couple of those next time you're around, please.